Welcome back to the podcast, A Life of a Woman. I am your host, Callie, and today we're diving into a topic that I think so many of you will resonate with. It's the times in our lives when we've tried to be quote unquote healthy, but in reality, we are doing more harm than good. So, I'll be sharing my own journey through different health phases, the restrictive diets, the obsessive routines, the scales dictating my worth, and how those approaches actually left me feeling worse. So, I became more unhealthy than healthy. I do want to also just mention here at the start that if anyone is struggling with an eating disorder, I do encourage you to please seek support or at least talk to someone. But don't worry, I will end this episode on a high note and explain why cycle syncing is the ultimate guide to a truly healthy, happy, balanced life and how that has happened for me. So let's get into it. And yeah, I will start off with my many phases of quote unquote healthy. So, if you yourself have gone through a diet phase, exercise obsession, or any get healthy trends, this story might sound similar to you. I have gone through so many different kinds of phases of being healthy. I have done it all. I've done the clean eating, I've done the no or restrictive eating, I've done calorie counting, weighing food, over exercising, weighing and measuring myself religiously, hoping for some kind of loss. And all of my worth was tied to my physical appearance and how strict and restrictive I was on these plans. So, if we go all the way back to high school and university, it really started for me in year nine. And then, really, this obsession with what I thought was health, but it was more my appearance rather than actual holistic health, really set in at 18, finishing high school and going into uni. So for me, all through that time until the last couple of years, all that time has been about numbers. So the numbers on the scale, the number of calories I ate. I remember counting calories religiously, trying to get them as low as possible, which, as we all would know, that is not healthy. And that's a big warning sign right there. Some days I barely ate. I remember at university that I would eat like an apple for the whole day. That was it. And then other times I went through phases where I barely ate, but what I did eat wasn't even nutritious. Like it was like a chocolate muffin because when I was in that phase, I figured if I was going to eat, I wanted it to taste good. So I barely ate, but what I did eat was junk food like Cocoa Pops and chocolate muffins. So it was like, really, it's always been like, how can I get the least amount of food and still survive? And spoiler alert, it is not sustainable and it is definitely not healthy. So fast forward a few years thought, when I was like, no, that's not healthy, and then thought I was being healthier. I found my new definition of health. I became a gym junkie, and so I moved into things like clean eating, and following really prescriptive eating plans. So during the cleaning phase, like I'll admit this phase wasn't all that bad. Like it's not that bad. I was eating more vegetables, I was cutting out junk food and paying attention to what I put in my body. But even with this phase, like it's not healthy because my mindset was not healthy. I got stuck in the mindset of control. And so every meal had to be perfect. If I ate something that was, like off plan or not clean, I'd feel so guilty. And it became less about nourishing my body and more about trying to follow this rigid set of rules. So again, it's not clean eating for me and perhaps for a few people, it wasn't healthy because it was still about that restriction and control. It wasn't about understanding what our body needs to be and feel healthy. like physically and emotionally. So that again was not a healthy phase, even though it's tip clean eating and things like that are typically associated with health. And then there was the time where I started weighing my food. So I was, as I said, a gym junkie, and I had signed up for some nutrition plans to go along with my exercise to help me achieve my goals. And so I went through that phase of weighing my food. And have you ever weighed your chicken breast like to the gram? Because I have, and I was trying to eat just enough for my goals, whether it was, fat loss or muscle gain. Like it was both. It's always been both. But honestly, it was just exhausting and it wasn't it wasn't sustainable. So my meals weren't enjoyable. They were math equations. It felt like my life revolved around the numbers and any deviation felt like a failure. And if I was out and I couldn't weigh my food, then I wouldn't eat necessarily, or I would eat, something ridiculous like green leaves or something as as like my I'm all for eating green leaves, but only green leaves for like your whole meal for like 7 hours. Like, no, not quite. And yeah, so that became really restrictive as well. And then there was a phase where I I think it's kind of drilled into us that we're not eating enough fruit and veg. And I'm probably one of the exception to the rules. Even now, I probably still eat a bit too much fruit and veg and didn't balance it enough. So back, I would only eat fruit or veg. Like I wouldn't eat any carbs. I wouldn't eat any protein sources or very little protein sources, like no grains, no beans, no legumes. And then yeah, only small amounts of animal protein at that time. So I have done many phases of different types of eating, and that's what they are. They were different phases of eating. They weren't healthy eating, they were eating. And then let's not forget about the exercise. So, exercise is always associated with health as well. And oh, the times that I forced myself to work out when my body was screaming for rest, and I tied like all my self-worth on how well I performed, how much I could lift, how fast I could run. If I skipped a day, I felt lazy and undisciplined. If I couldn't lift as heavy this week as I did last week, I would, be so harsh on myself and, all that negative mean talk that we say to ourselves, it really lit up because I didn't understand then what I know now, in that women's hormones are different from men's, and men have 24-hour hormones, so they can perform the same every day, day after day. They are consistent. Women's hormones have a typical 28-day cycle. So we're not going to perform once we've moved out of that high performance zone. We're not going to get to that high performance zone for another month. We've got to wait that 28-day cycle. And I didn't know that then. So I just thought that I was being lazy or not working hard enough or just being weak. And so I forced myself to work harder, even though I clearly couldn't do what I had done the week before. And if anyone knows Adelaide and Mount Lofty, that our giant, giant hill mountain in Adelaide, I used to run that on weekends. And the Hallett Cove Boardwalk, which is just staircase after staircase, I used to walk that on weekends carrying my 14-kilo weighted vest. So I was very, very fit in my high exercise time, which lasted for many years. I was very fit. I was running 10Ks as well on weekends. I was very fit, but I wasn't nourishing my body or resting or even stretching. I had to do at least 1 hour of intense exercise every day for me to feel like I had achieved my worth for that day. Any less than an hour, like even if it was 40 minutes, wasn't good enough. And yeah, things like yoga, and stretching, I never did them because they weren't intense enough. I didn't feel like I was exercising or pushing my body enough. So, of course, by not balancing out that intense movement, this led to a lot of physical injuries, and especially because of the extremes that I was in. I was in an office job, working full time in an office job, and then in the evenings and the weekends, I would smash my body like that so hard, and I had no kind of recovery in between. I was not doing any kind of stretching or foam rolling, so I was going from sedentary to intensity with no in between at all. So from all these all these different phases, and I've honestly lost count of all the different phases that I've been in with my eating, with my exercise, but the common thread through all of these phases is restriction and control. I was chasing an idea that my health was rooted in, not enough. Like that was my mindset. I wasn't eating enough, and if I was, then that was too much. I wasn't resting enough. I was not trusting myself or like listening to myself enough. I wasn't in tune with my body enough. And I didn't feel like enough unless I looked a certain way. So I didn't feel worthy, or yeah, I honestly didn't feel worthy. All of my worth was associated in how I looked and how on plan I was, how restrictive I was. And the funny thing is that society kind of applauds this kind of behavior. Like people were complimenting me for being so disciplined or being so quote unquote healthy, or looking so thin. And I felt like, yes, I am a healthy person because I'm getting all these compliments and I'm doing all this work. But deep down, deep down, and it's taken many, many years, what, like 20, 25 years, 20 years for me to, acknowledge that like, deep down, I knew it wasn't healthy. And it's taken me this long to finally say that it's not healthy and to like change my ways about it, because it wasn't holistic. It wasn't in tune with what I actually needed physically and emotionally. During all those phases, I was operating from a place of fear of what would happen to my body if I didn't push myself so hard. I was tense, anxious, completely disconnected from myself. So it was not healthy because it wasn't holistically healthy. And then another phase that I went through was like even my self-care routines became a source of stress. Like I was just felt so busy, and like, we know there's so much out there that we need to do, we need to juggle. And so it all became routine and rigid, and I would schedule everything. So, like, even my self-care. So, to feel like I could get everything done, I would schedule. So, my face masks would go on at 7 o'clock. I would meditate or read at 7:30, and then I'll journal at 8 o'clock. And I was just going through all of these beautiful self-care rituals, but I was going through them like a to-do list. I was going through the motions. I wasn't actually connecting with what I was doing, and that I wasn't getting those self-care benefits. You're just trying to you feel like you've got so much on your plate, but you know that if you do journaling or if you do listen to podcasts or meditate, that it's going to have benefits. But if you're not actually engaging in that activity, it's not going to have those benefits. And that's what I was missing. So it wasn't about nourishing my soul. It was about checking that box, because I am a Virgo, I am overproductive, I'm very organized, very detail focused. And so for me, ticking things off and getting stuff done is very in line with who I am. But again, that is not being healthy when that's all that you're focusing on, when you're just focusing on checking that box and getting that to-do list done, but you're not getting that nourishment from that activity. You're not being in the moment and actually enjoying what you're doing. So looking back, I can see how all these healthy habits were actually unhealthy because they were driven from fear of putting on even 1 kilo or, driven from control and restriction because I thought that being harder on myself was the only way to get the image, the body image or goals that I wanted. And it wasn't focused on love and care for myself. I always thought I had to work harder and push harder to get to my goals of being fitter, lighter on the scales, better physique, smaller clothing size, all those things that we all want. But the way that I went about trying to get them was not healthy. And it was the only way that I thought I could achieve those things was by doing all those different phases that were hot at the time. They were the hot topics, the hot trends, but they were not healthy. So, what changed? What finally changed? And how did I move from this cycle of restriction and control to feeling truly healthy and balanced and enter cycle syncing? I've told my story many times. You can check out episode 2 for my cycle syncing story. Um, and my episode 2 episodes ago, so episode 10, I went into my last year and what that looked like for me. And so I really touched on some of those unhealthiness thoughts or behaviors that were coming through. But yeah, I discovered cycle syncing 4, 5 years ago now when we were struggling to conceive our little guy. And I was learning about cycles because I wanted to improve my fertility. But really, it just showed me how our cycles just ripple effect into every area of our life. And our cycles actually give us our own unique roadmap on how we can be healthy. It is truly amazing what our cycles can tell us and what our cycles allow us to do if we understand them and if we tune into them. So when I discovered cycle syncing, it was like a light bulb went off for the first time. I finally had a framework that was healthy and it wasn't one size fits all because all those health things that are, same workout day after day, or everyone does the same exercise or eats the same way, they are not healthy for you because that is not what your body needs. So by tuning in with our cycle and by cycle syncing, it's not one size fits all. It's one size fits me, one size fits you. It's what our bodies need. It's not about following a strict diet or workout plan. It's about tuning into our bodies and honoring what is happening in our cycle and where we are in our cycle. So, cycle syncing is about aligning your lifestyle with the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle. And I go into those in detail, and I have freebies that explain all about those 4 phases and what you could be doing in each of those phases. And it's not just about cycle syncing is not just about food and exercise. That's a big part of it because that is typically what is associated with being healthy. So that is a big part of what I support people in and what you can focus on for sure. But what I'm really passionate about is holistic health. And so using our cycles to create our holistic health framework for us. So it also includes work and relationships and self-care. And, health isn't just the physical, it's not just what you can see, what you weigh, what you can lift, what you eat. Health is so much more than that. So, for example, during the menstrual phase, so that's when you have your period, I focus on rest and gentle movement like yoga or walking. My meals are warm and nourishing with foods that focus on replenishing minerals and particularly iron as well. And then compare that to the follicular phase, which comes just after your period. That's where you have more energy and you can handle more intensive workouts and lighter, fresher meals. And during the luteal phase, which is the phase right before your period, that's when you feel more introspective and you prioritize self-care and slower paced activities. So this approach has been an absolute game changer for me. It's not restrictive or controlling. It's intuitive and adaptable. it shows how your body ebbs and flows throughout the month. Because as I said, we have a 28-day hormonal cycle. So we do not need and cannot do the same things every day, day after day. We do have different energies that change throughout the month. So if we're following those energies, what we do is going to be so much more productive and come easier for us. No more pushing. I have pushed myself so much in my lifetime. I'm not pushing myself anymore. No more forcing workouts, no more forcing this, no more restriction and you know, none of that. None of that. I'm not about that anymore. It's not happening. It's no space for that in my life anymore. And I just want to help others find their way of being healthy that feels healthy for them as well. So it's about working with your body, not against it. And the best part, as I've said, it's not just that physical health, it's the mental and emotional health too. So now, like you would have heard from my story, like I'm so much kinder to myself. I've let go of the guilt and the pressure to be perfect and to push myself harder and to work more because I feel more connected to my body now than ever before. And you're not going to achieve all your beautiful goals and desires from working so hard and pushing yourself so hard. That is not what is going to help you create your healthy long-term health. That is not going to help you do that. So if you've been nodding along and thinking, yes, I've been there too. Like I've tried all those diets and workout plans and meal plans and exercise routines. And I know so many of you would be listening to this and saying, yes, I've done that too. I've forced myself to do that and I've restricted eating that. And oh, been pushing yourself to do things that you just don't want to physically or emotionally do, then I would love to have you join my cycle syncing program, Flow and Flourish. So, as I've said, it's not just another health program, it's not about restriction, control, or one size fits all. It's about creating a unique, sustainable, healthy lifestyle that works for you. So, in Flow and Flourish, you'll learn to align your exercise, nutrition, self care, work life, and relationships, align it all with your cycle. So you'll have access to one-on-one coaching, supportive community, resources that empower you to take control of your health in a way that feels good and not forced. No more force here. This program is about helping you thrive physically, but also emotionally. So, if you're ready to let go of the restrictive, unhealthy approaches and embrace a lifestyle that's truly balanced and fulfilling, then Flow and Flourish is for you. And for the rest of this month, January, just 4 more days, you can join for 20% off because I am so excited to help you get started on creating such a great 2025 for yourself, but also for your loved ones and your family because how we feel ripples to everyone else. So if we are feeling empowered and healthy and thriving, then that is going to ripple out into our families as well and our communities. So, why not start your year by focusing on creating a better you, one that works in tune with, create a better you that works in tune with her body, a better you that works to achieve her health goals without the sacrifice of your physical or emotional health. Learn a new way of living that will serve you your whole menstruating life. So, no more jumping between programs, throwing money at the latest new health phase, hoping this is the thing that works for you finally. It's not about that. Flow and Flourish will teach you how to listen to your body, get in tune with your body, and then how to still be productive, but using your energy that you have so that you feel balanced and easeful and productive, but all just in a beautiful, aligned way. So if you'd love to hear more about Flow and Flourish or love to sign up, check out my show links below. I also have information over on my Instagram about Flow and Flourish and my cycle syncing freebie as well. I'd love to see you feel the changes that I have felt after 20 or so years of restrictions and diet plans and workout programs that are, as I've said, restrictive and controlling. And let's create a healthy lifestyle that truly is a lifestyle that your family can get involved in. That means that you can still go out and have drinks with your girlfriends. You can still go out and eat dinners and you don't have to prep things in advance. And oh, let's just make it easier. Why are we putting so much extra pressure on ourselves? Life's too hard. There's too much going on. Let's make things so much easier and more enjoyable for ourselves. So thank you for tuning into today's episode. If you've ever struggled with feeling like you weren't kind of quote unquote doing health right, then I hope this episode gave you some insight or encouragement to find your own health journey, your unique way of doing health. Because remember, true health isn't about restriction or control. It's about connection, balance, and honoring your unique needs. So if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And as always, you can connect with me on most of the social platforms, but mostly Instagram. And I can't wait to have you join my Flow and Flourish program and take the next step on your health journey. So until next time, take care of yourself and keep flowing and flourishing.